Hey guys, episode 2 is your favorite unstable one, and I'm back for another one of my crazy but oh so true stories. So, this title for this one is called Invisible Mirrors. And what the fuck is an invisible mirror, right? So, in my own definition, an invisible mirror is kind of like you're looking into something and you don't really realize that you've been looking into this mirror for so long. Like the mirror has been invisible to you. You didn't realize that you were looking into something that was a reflection of yourself. And that's what I mean by an invisible mirror. For me, my invisible mirror is my mom. My mom, my leading lady in my life is my mom. And it took a minute for me to get to a point where I felt like comfortable enough to like talk about my relationship with my mom or my feelings with my mom, because I felt like I needed to address them with her first before I could speak openly about them. And not even speak openly, speak truthfully, because I would speak openly about my feelings about my mom, but I never had anything positive to say at one point. It was just always me highlighting all of the negative things that she did. And I realized that I was highlighting all of those negative things because it was literally like looking in the mirror. Everything that I looked down on my mom for was something that I hated within myself. I also looked down on my mom because for whatever reason, I had put myself on this pedestal where I thought that I could feel like I was better than her. So that's why I say that the title would come together soon. But for me, it was an invisible mirror because I realized while I've spent so much of my time talking down about this particular person or judging this particular person, I didn't realize, even back when I was younger, that looking at her was like looking in a mirror at myself. So let's just roll it back a little bit. My mom. Hey, Kaya. Everybody say, hey, Kaya. That's my mom. So my mom, right? I gotta tell her story in order to build my story. But I get her story is not mine to tell, so I only will tell like little snippets as it relates to me. My mom was an only child. She didn't really grow up with like a lot of siblings. And because of the fact that she grew up alone, she knew she wanted to have a lot of kids. Like my mom was not one of those people who was just like, I don't want kids. She knew that she wanted to have children, like plural. She wasn't raised with her parents, her mom or her dad. My grandmother, rest her soul, my grandmother died in 2016. My grandmother was like a street runner. She wasn't really parent fit. My grandmother was more so like street fit. Grandma was a street woman. Grandma got stories for days. Grandma spent a lot of time in the streets, a lot of time battling with drugs and, her bouts with the law and all these different things that she had going on, but she wasn't really present in my mom's life at all. She actually didn't become like active and present in my mom's life until my mom became almost an adult. My mom never met her dad. I think the one time she said she may have talked to her dad or seen him or whatever the case may be, she was an adult. She was about 19 years old. So my mom was raised by her great grandmother. Sometimes she would go to New York and spend her summers in New York with her grandmother and her mom. But for a majority of her life, she was here in DC with my great grandmother, with her great grandmother. This woman that raised her didn't really show her the love that she deserved, didn't really make my mom feel like she mattered, right? And so my mom grew up in what I would consider like a turbulent household. It wasn't really a lot of love. It was a lot of what seemed to be like her being passed around. Like it was like, I don't have my mom, I don't have my real dad. I don't even know my dad. I'm not even with my grandma. I'm with my great grandma. And in a situation where it felt like my great grandmother really only took care of her for the money. That's the way it was perceived, the story to me. Not saying that was my mom's view of it, because my mother loved her great grandmother. But when I put the pieces together, and it'll come together later, it almost felt as if to me, my great grandmother didn't really love my mother. You love the money that you got for taking care of my mother. So all that to say is that my mother grew up with a lot of pain, right? And I didn't know how deep her pain was. Like, I just assumed that my mother was mean. I just assumed that she hated me. And it was crazy because the first memories I have of my mother was being just this beautiful, like ambitious, goal-driven woman. Like, first of all, I'm like a caramel color. My mommy is like this beautiful chocolate lady with these gorgeous dimples. And I always said I must get my skin complexion from my grandmothers, both of them, because my mom and my dad are chocolate, and then you get this. But I always used to look at my mom and feel like she was just, not saying like, oh, she was pretty to be dark skinned. I've never felt that way. It was just the fact that she just had this beautiful chocolate skin, these gorgeous dimples, and she just had this confidence about her, this demeanor. It was just like, I'm shit. And I used to look at her and I used to be like, I want to be shit too, just like her. And I was like, the only way I'm gonna be able to be the shit is if I do the shit she tell me to do. That means I gotta do everything my mother say do. And my mother was very strict. She definitely had her rules. She had her what to do's and what not to do's. And I just remember feeling like if I wanna be like her, then I have to listen to her. And if I wanna be like her, I gotta do everything she says. And if I wanna be like her, I gotta make her happy because I don't wanna upset her. And for whatever reason, I grew up equating my worth to whether or not people like me. I put worth onto if my mom likes me, I'm worthy. If people like me, I'm worthy. And for whatever reason, my ego equated worth to whether or not someone actually liked me. And that started with my mom. So I used to feel like, you know, she don't like me. And I don't understand why she's so mean to me, but I still want to be like her. I still like would literally have girl crushes about my mom, because I was just like, first of all, just to throw a little background. My mom, I might be mixing the story up, but apparently from what I heard, first of all, my mother is smart. Like, the woman has just always just been like smart, just ridiculously smart. I'm talking street smart, book smart, common sense smart. Like, she just has it all. My mom also used to be a poet. So she wrote poetry books. She wrote a book called Somewhere Inside of Me. She wrote a book called The Anatomy of a Love Jones. You know, she used to go and do like these poetry sayings, and I was too young to go back then, but I remember like she used to be at Tacoma Station and she used to be doing all of these like poetry sayings, and I remember feeling so proud, like my mommy is going to be famous. Like, she does poetry, she writes books, she's a teacher, she does all of these things. I remember watching my mom wake up in the morning, she would put her makeup on and she only wore MAC makeup. She was like bougie but ghetto at the same time. Like, I just remember seeing this woman come to life and just, again, remembering and feeling like I want to be as smart and as beautiful and as powerful as my mom. And somewhere down the line, it was like that woman that I had this picture of, it just slowly started to fade away. And I didn't understand what was changing within her, that it just felt like her whole personality shifted. My mom always was a little strict, but it just seemed like I noticed between like the ages of like 9 on up, she just completely like just became mean and self-absorbed, and she was just like distant from us. She wasn't really present. You know, she would lock herself in a room. She would get really depressed and like really down. She would like, you know, didn't really want us around, and I just didn't understand what was going on. And I felt like the responsibility was on me to make her happy again. I don't know what happened. I don't know what changed my mommy, but I gotta make her happy. So that means do whatever she say, how she say it. Don't give her no reasons to get upset. I just want her happy again. So my mom didn't place that expectation on me. She didn't have to. I kind of placed it on myself, where I started to feel like it's my responsibility to make her happy. And the one of the scary things about my mother was she never yelled. She never had to raise her voice. So she wasn't, first of all, I am not my mother's child in that instance. I'm my daddy's child. If you know George, you know he is loud. I am my daddy's child. I am loud. When I'm angry, I get loud. When I'm happy, I'm loud. When I'm upset and I'm loud. Everything about me is just naturally loud. I naturally have a loud persona with me. My mother, complete opposite. My mother was the type of person, she would come up on you and she would whisper some shit in your ear. and you would just feel like your whole body got cold. You just be like, who the fuck turned on the air conditioner? It's cold in here. Like, literally, she would just come up to you, and she would just get real close, and she would just whisper some shit in your ear, and she would say it just like this, and then sometimes she might even drop her voice a little bit lower. And you just sitting there like, ooh, I can't move. I can't move. My body feel like bricks. Oh, it's cold. This bitch is a magician. What did she just do to me? Like, never met somebody that has that effect on someone where she never had to raise a fucking voice. The bitch was scary. I wanted to learn how to do that. How do I make people feel like they just went cold from their head to their toes and they can't move? I want to have somebody feeling like that. That's how my mother used to make us feel. Like, she never was a yeller. She'll beat your ass though, don't get it twisted. And that was another thing. She would sneak attacks. You never knew when it was coming, but that's a whole nother thing. But she never yelled. And that was something I think that scared me more, was because she never raised her voice. She was a whisper creep. The whisper would just creep up on you and just take over your soul. And like, you would try to find your breath and you'd be like, she just had that effect on people. And like, me and my siblings used to be scared shitless of my mom. Like, we just felt like we don't want to piss her off. You knew if her door was closed, don't come knocking on her door. Don't bother her. Don't fucking bother her. Like, perfect example. I'm gonna try to tell you this story. My goal was to not make another 45-minute video because I don't want people to be like, oh, shit too long to watch. I actually want people to watch what I have to say. So like, I'm gonna try to speed this up, right? Perfect example how this bitch scares us. I don't know if this is gonna be the first time my mother hears this story, and mommy, if it is, I'm sorry, but there's a story that I don't think me and my sister ever told my mom the truth about, how my sister fell out the window, right? So there were two traumatic experiences that happened to me, and they happened to each other a year apart from each other. One in August of 97, the second one in August of 1998. Both happened in the summer, both happened in August, a year from each other. Here's the first one. I was hungry, and I wasn't allowed to like go in the kitchen and like cook food and shit like that, right? So I was hungry. My mama's door was closed. Remember the rules. Her door's closed. Don't fucking bother her unless somebody's dying or bleeding, right? So I went in the kitchen. I crept through her room. I went in the kitchen. I opened the kitchen and voila. It was a fucking muffin sitting in the refrigerator from 7-Eleven. I never forget it. The fucking muffin was just shiny. Like, what? Eat me. So I was like, I want to eat this muffin. And I grabbed the muffin and I take the muffin in my room. Tiptoe back in my room and I take the muffin and I'm eating the muffin. But I don't eat the whole muffin, right? I don't eat the whole thing. So me and my sister and my brother, like, we all shared a room. My mom had a 2-bedroom apartment, and at this time she had 4 kids. So us 4 shared a room. And my little sister ain't had nothing to do with this. I think she was asleep at the time. But me and my sister and my brother were like in our room, and my sister was like, what are you gonna do with the muffin? Because you can't throw it in the trash, because if you throw it in the trash, mommy's gonna see that you ate the muffin. So I was like, we're gonna throw the muffin out the window. So we take the screen out our window and we throw the muffin out the window. Now, keep in mind, I'm like 10, which makes my sister was like 6 turning 7, or had just turned 7, which makes my brother 5. So we are 10, 7, and 5 at this time, right? So I throw the muffin out the window, right? And we look down and we still see the muffin. My sister breaks down crying. Mommy is gonna look out the window and she's gonna see the muffin and she's gonna beat you, and I don't want you to get in trouble. I mean, she had a whole breakdown because she was scared that my mother was gonna whoop my ass and I was gonna die if she saw that muffin, because I stole my mommy's muffin and she probably was gonna be mad at us. So we had to figure out what we was gonna do about this muffin, right? So we decided we're gonna climb out the window. We were on the 3rd floor. Remember that apartment in Southeast that I told you was living at the top of the hill? So we were on the 3rd floor, and we looked down and we was like, okay, it's not that far. We gotta tie some sheets together. So we tied all these sheets together, and we said, the plan was, I'm gonna slide down the sheets, get the muffin, throw the muffin further away where she can't see. I'm gonna clench on the sheets, and y'all gonna pull me back up. And in the story, muffin's gone, mommy never has to know. Now keep in mind, we wasn't thinking what's gonna happen. She go in the refrigerator and see that the muffin is gone. We wasn't thinking that far. We wasn't that advanced yet. We just wanted to get rid of this muffin. So we tie all the sheets together. We take all the sheets off our bunk bed. We tie all the sheets together. We throw the sheets down. I go first. I get on the sheet. I slides down. I make it to the second floor window, and there's like a ledge or a bar or something in the window. I get scared. I'm like, can't do this. No, I'm afraid. My sister was like, you heavy. So I'm like, okay, we gotta come back up. So somehow we end up, I like monkey climb my ass back up using the wall to get back in the window. Scariest moment of my fucking life. No, it wasn't the scariest moment of my life. For a 10-year-old, it was. So then my sister's like, okay, I'm going to go try. So I'm like, yeah, you got to do it because you lighter than me. You know, you go ahead and you slide down and you get it. So here goes my sister. My sister slides and she goes down the sheet. And I'm thinking she slid down really quickly. It's okay. So now it's time to pull her up. And we pulling. I'm like, ooh, sis is light. Ooh, I get to the end. It ain't nothing but sheet in my hand. I'm like, oh shit. I look down. My sister is laying on the ground. She's out. I'm like, oh my God. I start screaming. So I run in the room and I go, Mommy, Christine is dead. So we run. My mother runs. And I ain't never seen my mother get dressed. This bitch put on shoes in 30 seconds and was out the door. So I'm fucking crying and I'm thinking my sister is dead and it's my fault because my sister tried to save my life because she didn't want me to get killed over a fucking muffin. Needless to say, that's how scared we was. We didn't want to do anything to piss Kaya off. Nobody wanted that silent whisper in their ear. Nobody wanted no sneak attacks. We was scared. So, moral of that story was, don't piss mommy off. And my sister had my back. She fucking almost lost her life to make sure that I was okay. And she didn't break nothing. She was a little unconscious. And I remember she had to go to the hospital and luckily she didn't break anything. But I just remember feeling so guilty. I was like, my sister almost died because we was afraid of my mother over me and my greedy ass wanted a fucking muffin. All right, that was my story with the muffin. But anyway, so fast forward. When I say invisible mirrors, I would say I'm not that much of a tyrant with my kids, but I do notice how my kids walk on eggshells when it comes to certain things. Like my kids actually have that same demeanor towards me, where they're like, we don't want to piss mommy off. But it's not because I will physically hurt them. It's also because their mother have adult temper tantrums, as my therapist likes to call it. When mommy will get mad and start breaking shit, I will start punching holes in walls. I will like break glass. I will toss some shit around in this house and will fuck my whole house up and then turn around and be like, what did I do? Like sort of thing. Or I will be like verbally like yelling. Like I said, I'm a yeller. So I try very hard not to put my hands on my children, but I do feel like, yes, I might not be abusing them physically, but they still have to deal emotionally with your mother and her temper tantrums. Or, you know, dealing with your mother lashing out or saying something crazy out of her mouth because she's angry. And I felt like as much as I tried to resent my mom, I'm looking at the way that I treat my kids now, and I'm like, you judged your mother for being hurt. And the crazy part about it was I didn't know how deep my mother's pain ran until I was in high school. And the first glimpse of insecurity my mother ever exposed to me was, okay, so I used to dance. And dance was like something that was just like big in my life. It just literally helped me put my mind on something else. And I remember like my mom was like paying for me to do dance when I was younger, and then, you know, money changed. She couldn't afford to pay for me to dance anymore. But then luckily my middle school and my high school offered dance, so I took dance at school. And I remember being upset because my mother would never come to my recital. She would never come to my shows. So much to the point that I felt like my interest in dance slowly started to dwindle off because I was like, I'm good at it. But the one person in my life that matters, the one person in my life I want to see me being great, she won't even show up. And I used to feel like it was because she hated me. I was like, my mom used to say some wild things to me. She used to talk about the way I walk. Okay, like, all right, cards on the table, y'all, I do walk funny. Like, it's like I'm bow-legged, but I'm not bow-legged. It's like one leg longer than the other. I ain't quite figured out what it is. I do know it might come across like a walk with a little limp. Or some people might say she got a little stank little walk. The stank walk been there since I was little. My mama used to get mad at me and would say little smart stuff about the way I walk or the way I look or little things I do. And I used to just feel like, why is she picking at me? Why does she never have anything the good to say about me? It just felt like it was a constant nagging. I could make good grades. She not about to pat me on my back for making good grades, because to my mom, that was an expectation. I am not going to pat you on your back for making good grades. You better hope I don't smack the shit out you if you bring anything in here less than a B. You get away with one B, one too many B's, and be knocking your ass out. A C is unacceptable. That's an automatic ticket to get your ass beat. So it was just like, I wanted to get praised for all of these different things. I'm looking for any little thing that she would feel excited about. And it was just like, it was never enough. And I just didn't understand why. I'm like, you keep me cooped in the house. You don't let me have a normal life. You're mean as fuck to me. And then it's like, why? What are you thinking you're protecting me from? Why did this woman hate me so much? Why does she want to control my life? And that's how I felt. I'm like, she literally, instead of letting me go outside, my mom used to sit me in the house and would slap me with books, right? Not slap me literally, but like give me books and be like, you got till Friday to read this book, and then you're going to give me a book report. And when you finish this book, I'm going to have another book for you. And I guess that was her way of keeping me focused. She's like, I'm going to keep her focused on school and on books and on things, and instead of worrying about boys and friends and people in the outside world, because the outside world's not safe. And so I felt like, I don't understand what you think you're protecting me from, but it's making me resent you, and it's making me feel some type of way, because it's making me feel like you hate me. I don't understand what it is that I have done to deserve this. And I literally kept blaming myself. What have I done? I ain't go out here and make no mistakes. My mom had me when she was 14. Our birthdays are 2 days apart. 2 days later, she turned 15. And my mom's biggest fear was, I'm not gonna let you go out here and make the same mistakes as me. Over my dead body, will you go out here and be a teenage mother? That's not happening. She had this shit drilled in my head. That's not happening. So back to her insecurities, I was just like, okay, so aside from you being afraid that I'm gonna get pregnant, aside from all of these things, like, what is it that you think that you're protecting me from? Like, why? And then it wasn't even always the protection. In my mind, you couldn't tell me my mother did not hate me. The things she used to say to me, the ways that she used to treat me, I used to just feel like she don't like me. So she finally opened up to me. I want to say it was probably it was probably my last recital in middle school or one of my first in high school. And she was just like, I want to come to your recitals, Aisha, I really do. She was like, but you've been going around showing everybody this picture of me, and I don't really feel like I look like that picture anymore, and I don't want to embarrass you. And I was just like, it was a picture that I used to have, and I used to show everybody this picture of my mom. Like, I was literally, it wasn't even about her looks. It was just, I was fucking proud. Like, this is my mommy. Look at her. She's beautiful. Like, and it wasn't really like I said, to showcase her looks. It was just a kid being proud of my mom. I wasn't thinking of it in like a looks type thing, if that makes sense. But when she said that to me, it hurt me, and I took it so personally. I was like, so it's not me, it's you. You don't come to my recitals. You don't come see me dance and perform. You don't really come to anything dealing with my school because you are worried about what you look like. Like, that didn't make sense to me. I was like, why the fuck does that matter? And it didn't all start making sense until I got in high school. And like I said, my mom published books, and she gave me this pink book. I'll never forget. It was paperback, a pink book. And I still have it, actually, in my drawer in my room. She said, I want you to read this book before I publish it, because I want you to read it first, because there are going to be some things you're going to find out about me, some things that you're going to read and you're going to have questions about. And she's like, after you read the book, I'm ready to sit down and answer any questions that you may have. Y'all, I barely made it through the book. All right. Told y'all, I kept the book all these years. You guys probably can't even see the book. I kept the book. The cover's gone. The pink cover's gone. This is the book she handed to me and put in my hands and told me to read. I read this book and barely made it through the first few pages. I was in tears. What I did not know about my mom was all the mental inconsistencies, the religious inconsistencies, the battle with drugs, the battle with alcohol, the battle with promiscuity, the battle with sexuality, all stemmed from a little girl who never got the love that she received. My mom was molested by family members, the people who are supposed to trust, who she's supposed to love and trust. When she was 4, it started when she was 4. Her own family members with an S. We're not talking about one. And this went on 4 years, to the point that she thought it was okay. Whereas like people in the family were just using her. She was 4 when this started. I'm reading this and I'm finding out about how my mom was 9 years old and she tried to commit suicide at 9 because she felt so shitty about the things that was happening to her. She felt shitty about the way she looked. Fast forward into middle school, the way the kids treated her in middle school, the way the kids talked about her, literally made me feel like I was looking in a mirror. I thought about the shit I went through in middle school, the things people used to say about me, and I'm just like, oh my God, are you kidding me? I'm literally reading this book and I found out like my father's role in this, because I never could understand for the life of me how a 14-year-old girl got pregnant by a 20-year-old man. So I'm sitting here and I'm reading this book and it's just things just popping up left and right. And I'm reading this book and I have tears in my eyes because I'm like, I judged my mother for so long. I just thought you hated me. You didn't want nothing to do with me. Like, maybe she just blames us because her life didn't turn. Like, first of all, by the time my mom was 22 years old, she had 4 kids. And I felt like she hated all of us for that. I felt like she blamed us for taking her life away from her. I can't imagine 22 years old with 4 kids. I had my first child when I was 21 and it was the hardest shit in my life. But imagine being 22 and you already got 4 kids. So I'm like literally reading this book and instantly I just felt consumed with like sadness. And so I'm like, I didn't know you went through all of these things. I didn't know that you've been walking around holding on to secrets and pain and all of these different things that happened to you. That's why you couldn't really love me. You did the best. You did what you thought a mother was doing. You thought that you was protecting me. You thought that, a parent rules with an iron fist. You thought that if I'm the mama, my kids just do what I say, do what I say, do what I say. And another thing was, it also made my mother's other suicide attempt clear. That's the second traumatic experience that happened to me. Was I found my mother had attempted a suicide and I was the one that found her. This was the year after the muffin out the window. Literally exactly a year later. My mom had got to a point where at this point, y'all, she was crying every day. I just remember my mom coming home from work every single day and it was like clockwork. She would come home from work, she would go in her room, she would close her door, she would cry. And she would cry for hours. Sometimes she would turn her music all the way up and she would just cry. And I didn't know what was going on. I just knew that beautiful, ambitious, goal-driven woman who was out doing her poetry and doing her thing, just all of a sudden was just a mess. And this mess that just seemed like she just couldn't bounce back from it. And I remember going in her room, and my mom came home from work that day, and I'll never forget it. We was living out in Maryland at this time, because we had moved from the other apartment. We had moved out in Maryland. She was like starting to get back, seemed like she was back working. She was getting herself back on her feet, but literally she came home on this particular day, and she was like, she gave all of us a kiss, and she said, don't worry, mommy's not gonna cry no more. It's about to be over. I ain't think nothing of it. All I felt like was, mommy said she not gonna cry no more. Mommy said it's all over. That's all that matters. I'm going back on the balcony. We was outside on the balcony. We took the shower curtain off out the bathroom and we took it on the balcony and we pretend like we was in the ocean. And I knew something was up because my mama let us do that shit. And there was no way you let us trail all that water back and forth from the kitchen to the balcony and you ain't come out there and fuck somebody up. So that was the first sign that something wasn't right. And I remember it was getting late. It was getting late into the evening, and my brothers and sisters was hungry. Remember I said I'm not allowed in the kitchen, so I have a burn mark on my chest, right? When I was little, apparently I was like 4 or 5. I tried to pull a pot of something off the stove and feed myself, and like splash burn all over my chest, right? So my mother had this thing where I wasn't allowed in the kitchen. So I was like, oh shit, y'all, we gotta go knock on the door. So I'll do it. I don't want y'all to get cussed out. I'll do it. Go knock on mommy's door, mommy don't answer. Waited like an hour. Go back and knock on mommy's door, mommy don't answer again. This time I decided to open the door and I walked in. What do I see? My mom is stretched out on her bed. She's just out. Her wrists have been slit. She's not responding. So I'm literally standing on top of my mom. I'm screaming, I'm shaking. So then I said, this is the time where I can try to smack her. Because if she really dead, I'm going to die too when she wake back up. I mean, if she not really dead, I'm going to die if I smack her and she come to it. She's going to knock me out. But it's worth it because I need to make sure my mommy not dead. So, because I just see blood and I see she's not waking up. And I just remember smacking her over and over. And I'm fucking 11. I'm like 10 or 11 at the time. Smacking her over and over and over again. And she wouldn't wake up. And I just literally remember just laying on top of her body. And I just cried. Like, literally just laid there and cried. And I thought about her suicide. Because after that, you know, the ambulance, you know, the whole ordeal came. They committed my mom, and I didn't see my mom for like 2 weeks. And as a kid, it was the longest 2 weeks ever, right? Longest 2 weeks of my life. I went to go stay with my dad, and I just remember hearing, you know, everybody was talking about my mom, like saying like, oh, she crazy as shit. That bitch been crazy. I already knew something like this was gonna happen. You know, my dad talking shit like, I'm gonna get my motherfucking kids from her. I ain't got time for this shit. And I'm like, yeah, y'all, I might be a kid, but I still hear y'all talking shit about my mom. That's still my mom. And my mom is dead. In my mind, my mom is dead, and y'all sitting here talking shit about my mom in front of me. And I felt so bad. And I thought back when I was 16, I'm sitting and reading this book, and I thought back 5 years prior to when she attempted the suicide, and I was just like, oh my God, you have been walking around with all of this pain of these things in this fucking book that happened to you. Guys, the book ain't even that deep. You read the first few pages and you already gonna break down in tears. Who did what to you? So I felt bad because I felt like I didn't know. I just assumed that it was like, she just don't love me. She doesn't want anything to do with me. I didn't know that she was dealing with her own pain. And then I sat back one day and I think about how hard of a time I gave my mother. Even after I read this book, I got to a point when I want to say my late teenage years, college years, where I started to actually resent my mom. I started to feel like I'm tired of trying to please you. I'm tired of trying to do things to make you happy. I'm tired of trying to win your approval. And I realized that I blamed my mom for my inability to create relationships with other girls and other women, because I had this image of this is how women are, this is how they treat each other, this is the things that they do. And I started realizing I had that same experience with other women, where, and it may just be me personally, but even to this day, I find myself very hesitant to build close relationships with females. I literally find myself feeling like females, I'm just like, I like a few and far of y'all I let get close to me, but for the most part, I feel like I don't always fit in, like with the cattiness and the pettiness and, you know, talking about people and things like that. And not saying all females are that way, but I've been in situations where I felt like I distanced myself from females because of their behavior, because of the tendency to look down on each other, and I don't like that. And I realized that I blamed my mother for that, because I was like, you're the leading lady in my life. You were the person who showed me relationships, especially when it comes to like mother, daughter, or female to female. And you didn't make me feel good about our relationship. You actually made me feel just as bad as the rest of these girls do when I try to befriend them, or, you know, other women when I try to befriend them. So because of that, I stayed away from it. And I realized that I started resenting her to the point that I felt like, how can you go through all of this stuff in this book and then be weak? You locking yourself in your room. You won't be present for your kids. You won't talk to us anymore. You know, you putting these men before your children. You know, you sleeping around. You're doing all of this. You inconsistent. Like, and I really got to a point where I resented her because I was hurt. And I started feeling justified in my actions. I started feeling like, I'm going to treat you the way you treat me. I'm going to talk shit to you the way you talk shit to me. I'm going to disrespect you the way I felt that you disrespected me. And then I stepped back and I looked in the mirror and I said, well, Aisha, it's like you looking back at yourself. How many men did you go sleeping around with because you was looking for someone to make you feel good about yourself? You felt like you couldn't get accepted by females, and it was easier for you to be accepted by men as long as you was opening up your legs. But then you got mad at your mom for doing the same thing. Your mental inconsistencies, you get mad and you judge that woman for being depressed and being hurt when you turn around and you did the exact same thing. You get depressed, you get hurt, you shut people out. You talked down on her and blamed her. I was so hurt by my mother for her doing the suicide. I kept feeling like that was selfish of you. You just wanted to leave us. Well, August, I'm thinking about my mom. April 29th. 2017, I attempted a suicide. I attempted to kill myself. And it's about 5 people that maybe know this because I begged, like, I hate saying baby father, but I say best friend for this term. So when y'all hear me say best friend, I'm talking about him. So I begged, like, best friend and my dad not to tell anybody. Like, please don't tell anybody what happened. It's literally 2 of my best friends, him and my dad, are the only ones that knew what really happened. During that time, I was drinking a lot. Like, I was borderline an alcoholic secretly and nobody knew about it. I was drinking all the time. I was probably drunk, like, just functioning, and nobody really knew. I had got to a point where I felt so low and so hurt and was just ready to just end it all. Like, I got to a point where I was one of those people where my ego was equating my worth to whether or not people liked me, whether or not people accepted me, whether or not people loved me. Like, I felt like I'm just tired of feeling like I'm not enough. Like, I'm tired of coming across people that just use me. I'm tired of feeling like I'm trying to compare and keep up with people. You know, I'm tired of feeling like I'm not good enough. I'm not a good mother. I'm not a good friend. I'm not a good person. Like, I literally just, the drinking was fucking up my head. It literally was getting to a point where I was convincing myself that I'm not shit. You ain't shit. You don't deserve to be here. You don't deserve these kids. You don't deserve your man. You don't deserve none of this shit. You, like, literally. So that weekend, I remember I sat in my house and I just cried. I cried like the whole weekend. I just literally just was like, I don't want to feel this way anymore. So I went to the store earlier like that morning and I bought a 12 pack of sleeping pills and I bought a whole 5th of Hennessy. And I sat in my room and I started writing letters. I wrote best friend a letter, I wrote Taylor a letter, I wrote Cameron a letter, and I wrote my brother, because my brother was living with me at the time, and even he don't even know that this is what really happened. I wrote him a letter. And I sat in my room for like 2 hours just writing to all of them, just basically saying, I'm sorry, you know, I can't go on like this. Y'all are better off without me. I don't deserve to live. This is how I feel. I wrote best friend a letter just telling him how all these years you've made me feel like I wasn't good enough. I've dealt with you cheating. I've dealt with you doing this. I've dealt with you putting other people, you know, just feeling like I'm tired of coming second to everyone. I'm tired of not being anyone's first choice. I'm tired of people feeling like I'm not good enough. I'm tired of people, you know, judging me based on where I come from or my past or, you know, what I've done. I just felt like I finally fell into a dark place. So I barricaded myself in the room, locked the doors. I drank and drank and drank. I popped all 12 of those pills. I cracked that bottle open. I said, I'm just gonna drink and drink and drink. And I was like, I can't do all the cuts and the blood and stuff. Like, I don't have the guts to do that. I just wanna die in my sleep. I wanted to take the easy way out. I wanna die in my sleep. I wanted to be peaceful and I wanna be done. So I proceeded to attempt to do it. And I remember waking up and I saw white. And I was like, nigga, we did it. Oh, Jesus, thank you. Where are you at? Show your face. Like, this is funny now, but this is not funny then. This is really my thoughts. And I remember I'm laying in there and I'm seeing white, which made me think I was in heaven. And I remember turning over to my side and best friend was sitting right there. And his eyes was red, and he probably won't admit to this day that he was crying, but his eyes was red, and he was just staring at me. And I remember thinking, ooh, this is not heaven, that gotta be hell. Ooh, no, like turning over, and like flipped over to the other side, because I couldn't bring myself to look at him. I was like, this is clearly not heaven, no, take me back. Blink, blink, where'd the white go? Like, I'm trying not to, I gotta make a joke out of this, and I have a dark sense of humor, but it wasn't funny then. So I'm literally sitting there and the doctors are like all around me and they coming in there and they're checking me and they're like, do you know why you're here? Do you know you attempted a suicide? Yada, yada, yada. So I'm trying to tell the doctors, like, I didn't attempt no suicide. I was tired and I took some sleeping pills because I was real sleepy and I just wanted to go to sleep. And they're like, you took some sleeping pills. Well, you took a lot. 12 is a lot of sleeping pills just to go to sleep. In addition to a whole empty 5th of Hennessy that, you know, best friend is telling us he found beside you. He's telling us how he found you, how he had to get in the room to get you, and how he got you here. All of this sounds like a suicide attempt. It doesn't sound like someone that's sleepy. So long story short, they gave me an ultimatum. You have a choice. You can voluntarily admit that there was a suicide attempt and we will keep you for 3 days under observation, you know, watch you, medicate you, monitor you, whatever. Or you can involuntarily keep denying that this was a suicide attempt. We will commit you for 10 days and it will go on record that you were institutionalized or committed for a suicide attempt. The lady was like, I'll be back in a second and get your decision. I laid in that bed, y'all, and I cried my eyes out. I was like, bitch, you can't even kill yourself right. What is wrong with you? Like, literally, I got so mad at myself. I felt worse than I did when I attempted the shit. I literally felt like a failure. So in addition to me already not feeling like shit, I felt worse because I was like, you can't even fucking kill yourself right. Who can't commit suicide right? Like, who can't do that right? And I'm literally, I cried and I cried and I cried and I was just like, God, why am I here? Why? I tried to end it. I don't want to feel that way anymore. Why didn't you let me end it? And it goes back to me looking in that invisible mirror. I judged my mother, but I had to step back and I had to look at myself. Everything that I've ever judged my mother for doing, I acted it in the same exact way, down to the letters. When my mom attempted her second suicide, when I got later in middle school or high school, she started feeling down again, and she wrote us all a letter telling us that she was going to do it again. And I remember going to her in tears, and I said, Mommy, when you tried that shit the first time, you promised me you wasn't going to ever do that again. But the crazy thing about it is, that's 3 attempts that my mom made in her life that I know of, because she was feeling that much pain. And she's still here standing. I always tell my mommy, you was here for a reason. I attempted to take my life 3 years ago and literally got mad at God because I did not understand why I am still here. And God was like, because it's not your time, sis. I'm not ready for you. You don't get to push the end button. The end buttons get pushed when I say it gets pushed, not because you wanted to be over. And I'm literally like, I judge my mom for being weak. Like, you've been through all of this stuff and you weak. You go barricade yourself in your room. You won't talk to your kids. You get all depressed. Literally, my mom would be in her room for weeks at a time. We wouldn't see her. Like, she would just be just absent. And I literally got to a point, y'all, where I called my mom one day and I cried my eyes out. And I was just like, I am so sorry. Like, I can never take back the pain I put you through. I can never take back the fucked up things I've said. I can never take back the things that I did. All I could do is look now and say that I am sorry. Who am I to judge somebody that was in pain like that? I literally put myself on a pedestal where I thought that I was better than her. Until depression hit me, anxiety hit me, until I realized that I got mental inconsistencies. I was going around looking for men through sex, thinking that sex is love. Like, if I have sex with him, he'll love me, he'll like me. Like, giving parts of my body and me that I can never get back. Chasing females, trying to just get them to accept me and to like me, to the point that I was just like, you know what, Mommy, I finally get it. And I just had to apologize. So, I feel bad, y'all. I just looked, this video is 43 minutes, and I told myself I wasn't gonna go past 30. I'm sorry. Before I wrap this up, guys, just taking it back to the point of an invisible mirror is, think about who's your invisible mirror. Who is somebody in your life that you're probably mirroring and you don't even realize that you're mirroring? Somebody's actions that are mimicking your own and you never even realized it. And you probably should reach out and talk to that person. Like, literally, reach out to that person. If you've been mean, if you've been distant and you're not speaking to them, apologize. Talk to them, because you might be able to look in that mirror and finally get some help to help you with you. Literally, when I finally stopped blaming my mom, I was actually able to reach out to her like, Mommy, I need your help. How do I handle these panic attacks? How do I handle this anger that I feel? How do I handle this pain for this? How do I let my kids know that I love them without being overbearing? You know, now I'm picking up the texting and the calling and I'm asking, because now I need her. And now at 33 years old, I realized that I need my mama, and I'm not afraid to admit it. I wish that we were closer. I wish that I, call her and reach out to her more, but I'm not afraid to admit that I definitely need her. And I didn't realize how much I needed her until I got older and I started facing my own shit, and I had to step back and realize, how can I judge someone who's been hurting without looking in the mirror and realize that my whole life I've been watching my mom was almost as if it was like forecasting what was in the future for me if I didn't get my shit together. Like, if you don't get, your act together, your behavior can be displayed in these ways. And I don't know, guys. So that was that. And I guess I'm trying to wrap it up because I'm looking at the time and I'm like, shit, it's another 45-minute video and I really didn't want to try to do it this long. So I'm sorry. But I hope you guys really like take away the point. Is like we all have an invisible mirror. You just gotta figure out what it is or who it is. And once you do, like really connecting with that person and actually having an honest and heart-to-heart talk. And even if it's not an invisible mirror you have, if you've been holding any resentment towards anyone or one of your parents, letting that resentment go and being honest and saying, this is why I felt these ways. This is why I felt this way towards you, or I had these thoughts or these feelings, and facing it head on, because holding that shit inside is not going to do anything but eat you alive. Trust me, I know. All right, that is the end of Invisible Mirrors. I am your girl. Shit, I forgot my name. Your favorite unstable one. Until next week, guys.